Okay, guys, we are here with Paul Germanese and obviously, Scott Innocente, me, Dan Crosby. And we are going to talk about the come up, and we're going to talk specifically also a little bit about when Paul and I started getting into real estate. So I started investing around the same time when Paul became an agent. And we're going to kind of talk about how the markets changed over the course of, 13, 14 years. So, Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself. Let everybody know who you are and your history here.
All right. Well, Paul Germanese, AW4U the Real Estate Group. I run a awesome team in Windsor, Ontario. Again, I'm heading into year 14 of real estate. If this podcast is anything like the pregame we just had, we're in for a wild ride. We got some good beards here on the podcast. There's a beard, right? Is this right? It's about beards, right? Am I right?
Look at that, eh?
No, I've been in the game now I like to call myself a veteran. I mean, the agent that people get in 2021 is a lot different than the agent they got in 2008. Wow, that even sounds weird. And that's just the experience and knowledge and knowing what you're doing, right? So yeah, things changed through the 14 years. That's for sure. We're in a interesting market right now, but it was an interesting market back then too. You have to understand that. Like, it was just as interesting back then as it is now. It's just flipped. So,
yeah, great point. So Dan, you were investing in 2007. You were just starting your real estate agent career. Talk about the market then. And I think the main point of this podcast is going to be the fact that markets shift, and a lot of people, like I find a lot of people are still stuck in 2007, 2008, especially if you were like a Windsor local. You can't understand what's happening now, and you can't jump on board. Like you still think Windsor's a piece of crap, dead city. Meanwhile, prices continue to rise. They don't understand the fundamentals that have changed since. Let's talk about 2007, 2008 and how it's different, or how it was different then than it is now, from a couple different angles, right? As an agent and as an investor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So when I first in 07, 08, it was more so because I dropped out of school and I didn't know what the fuck I was going to do, to be honest with you. So and I didn't want to go back to school, and I wasn't about it either. I didn't want to work for anybody really.
So it's not like you were buying real estate because it was so depressed.
I actually wasn't. I was actually buying real estate because, like, fuck am I going to do in my life kind of thing. And
that's funny because that's why I got into real estate. So
honestly,
sat in university, looked around, I was like, man, this place is not for me.
Yeah.
Went to St. Clair. I was like, oh man, this place for me. This place is easy. This is pretty good. And then got into real estate, got busy, and then I was just like, never graduated, right? Like it just wasn't. Yeah. Wasn't my thing. Right?
Yeah, I can't. I have a hard time fitting into a box. That's all, right? Like I have a hard time. I never found anything that I would. I was always good at math. I was always good at like engineering, stuff like that. So a lot of people were like, hey, why don't you get into the auto industry? Why don't you get into, architecture or whatever? And I was just like, man, like I just can't sit there. Like I can't do this type of thing. And so that's when I actually got into real esate and
now you must have known real estate's a good investment.
Okay.
Right?
So
like you had to have
so I actually used to sit at the water at the river to look across there and be like, fuck, imagine these guys that own these buildings, right across across the way where you got these massive
GM
buildings.
Building,
And I used to, that would be so cool. Like those guys have fucking made it, right? And I was like, fuck, I'm going to do this one day. Like I'm going to actually get there and I'm going to do this. And so I ended up, trying the whole school thing, and it didn't really work out. And I ended up doing that because you motherfuckers were all graduating from school and I wasn't. I dropped out and I didn't know what I was going to do. So I was like, okay, well, I know I'm a pretty capable person. I'm just going to like buy a bunch of real estate. I'm going to kind of rehab it a little bit and maybe even sell it down the road or whatever, increase the value on it. So I ended up getting like a tool set and like watched a bunch of shit on YouTube and slowly rehab the units.
What gave you that idea though? Because I mean,
real estate?
Because let's go back to 2000.
Because I didn't know anything else.
8, but it's scary, man.
It is. And that's what people don't really realize. But I realized this. I was like, Windsor can't like get much worse,
right?
Because in that time, like what a lot of people, I think, looking back would think is during the 2007, 8, 9, whatever, they would think that it was the real estate market in Canada, and it wasn't. It was the auto industry that crushed here. That also, maybe a little bit of the real estate market here, but it was more so the auto industry and the feeder plants and all that stuff, that those were coming crashing down at that point. And that's what really fucked Windsor up.
Yeah. And people also think that it was easier to invest in 07, 08 than it is now because prices are so cheaper.
No, it was.
And I'm telling them, I'm like, you wouldn't have invested. If you wouldn't invest now, you wouldn't have invested then. It was harder to.
It was wildly scary.
Yeah, nobody was buying. People were leaving the city.
Yeah.
People were losing their jobs. Like it was a scary time.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a really good investor, like you'll understand that is the time to buy. But most people aren't, right? Most people get afraid in those times and they won't make moves. But what was actually happening in the market?
Yeah.
Actually, you'll have a good angle on this as well. I know you've talked about it, but whoever wants to go first about.
Yeah. So what I remember about being in the market at that point in time was very high vacancy. The dollar value on the houses in the housing market was like astronomically. Like I remember buying like even like you're talking about Lagoyo.
Yeah.
Like the last apartment that I bought in there, I think I paid like $24,000 for it.
Right.
So, but it sat. It wasn't like tons of people coming in like fiending at it, wanting to buy at values like that. No, it fucking sat. Like no, I remember a point in time when literally nobody wanted to live in Lagoyo. Like literally nobody wanted to live in Lagoyo. Number one, nobody would even buy anything in Lagoyo. And
it was ugly. It's still
it was. And here we are now where if I pop one of those apartments that I paid, $20,000 for, like it's going to go with a 2 on front of it.
Yeah.
With another zero.
The last deal I did
there
was for 110.
Yeah.
And
110.
110. Now, and this wasn't even probably 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
And even at that 110 when I ran and I'm talking 110 on the curve facing the Rensen.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 110 value, not unit 110.
No, sorry,
okay,
not
okay.
unit 110. He knows them by the unit.
I'm thinking 110.
That's in the back.
Yeah.
Right. So $110,000, decent, nice, some upgrades, ran the numbers. We're looking like 125 was like cranked out this, that, the other. Good, we can put some money in there. Boom, done. 110 facing the water.
Yeah.
I look at the stuff that sells in there now. Yeah, 2 in front of it, mid twos. I'm just like, wow.
Yeah.
So every week the numbers because I can remember 08, 09.
Yeah,
that
man.
was yesterday. And I work like just in case that comes back.
Yeah, and so Scott will send me buildings like multifamily buildings that like when I was coming up and I was like I know these buildings like. I walked through them. I would talk to them with Marco Savoni multiple times, and like because he would also walk through them, and he's been in the real estate game forever, and he knows a lot about the buildings, and knows a lot about the investor around town, and so I know a decent amount of the buildings that still come. Yeah. And I remember these fucking buildings, and I remember them being on the market for like $300,000, $400,000.
Yeah, like 18
now they're like $2 million.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like Marco, what was the comment the other day? He was like
Cataraqui.
Cataraqui.
Yeah.
He sent me. What did it go for?
2.25 million or something.
Like 2.3 million. He's like, I remember when that fucking thing was on the market for 465.
Yeah. And nobody would buy it.
Yeah, nobody wanted it.
I remember walking through them. Like,
I
remember the kitty corner from where the Gladstone bar was. There's a building right there, and I remember walking through. I was like, "Yeah, you know what? If we grab this for, it was like 409 or something like that. I'm talking like 16 units. Crazy, man.
Yeah,
crazy.
So what was crazy is I ended up talking to him about that building after a little bit, and he's like, "The people that buy that building aren't going to make any money." And this is a very important thing to realize is that just because you're buying a building for a good value doesn't necessarily mean you're actually going to make money, because the type of people that building is going to attract is going to be a fucking shitstorm. And I know that.
Great point. On paper, you got this nice cash flow, you got these crazy returns, but your expenses with a hard to manage building,
turnover,
missed rent payments,
missed rent payments, people skipping out on rent, like all those things. Oh yeah, they tear your shit apart.
There's a nice little nugget right there, right? Where like it's not all about the what's on paper. So actual physical, the people, right?
Yeah, you have to understand. You have to understand the market. You have to understand locations and stuff like that.
Quality of building, all those things. Because
that build's fucked. I already know it is. Like you don't have to even. I don't even have to go through it again. I don't even care if they, maybe if they reno it, but even then, maybe it's just a shit. Yeah, it's just shit. So he whenever I talk to him about like even the stuff that he made a lot of money in the West End, but he referred to himself.
Back then?
Yeah.
That's even worse back then.
I know. And that's what I'm like.
I remember my lawyer, who's my lawyer now, bought on, I think Campbell or something. And he's West Side Adam, we call him, right? Lawyer, lives in the West, will never leave the West.
Really,
It was like 165. And I was like, man, I don't go to the West, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, man, this is where I want to be. And the West is like coming up like crazy.
Yeah. Remember I fucking told you where I was going? And
you bought a lot on the West.
I bought a shit ton of property in the West End.
Like Wolf, there's a street called Wolf over there. Beautiful street. Like West has some.
You got to be careful in the West. That's what people don't understand. Like,
I just can't land on Sandwich, right? And it was zoned. It has apartment buildings around it. $420,000.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. a big piece. But yeah, that's the come up, right? You got the bridge, the new bridge coming up in that end. So let's talk about, people, this is what I want to talk about, okay?
Yeah.
The market was a mess then. Nobody was buying. People were leaving the city, all those things. What I want to bring home to people is there were fundamental reasons why real estate wasn't selling then, okay? So I want to talk about those fundamental reasons a little bit. The plants were down. The U.S. economy had crashed. The feeder plants were down. Or leaving for Alberta, right, to go work in the oil sands.
Yeah, that was
our population wasn't growing. So we had a stagnant market.
Yeah.
Prices were declining, not even stagnant, for fundamental reasons. Paul, what was happening then? What did you see at the time as an agent?
Lost everybody my age, right? They couldn't get here. So a lot of them moved to Toronto. A lot of them moved out west. A lot of them just went, they graduated and they had to go to work, right?
Mm-hmm. So we were in a declining population.
And the supply was just...
Unemployment was probably... Rents were low. No investors weren't here. Why would investors come here? The city's dead. Nobody was here, right? So it was a kind of a dead city, right? So that's why it wouldn't have been that much of a, an attractive investment opportunity, even though you look back and now it looks like one. Yeah. So where are we at now? Okay, so what's happened in that period? What's been the trajectory? Why are prices jumping up so high? I think a lot of people think it's just crazy mayhem. People are just being stupid and overpaying. And I keep harping up to people that, no, the fundamentals have changed. And when the fundamentals change in a market, whether it's a stock or real estate, if I change my mindset, then I'm making a mistake. If the fundamentals change, I'm going to change with them or I'm going to be left behind. What are the fundamentals now in Windsor? What's changed since then? And why are prices jumping up so quickly? Paul, let's get your perspective first. Dan will get your investor perspective as well after.
So why are prices jumping? Well, again, and we talk about this in the office all the time.
Almost
right?
every day,
every week, every day, I'm like, man, like, again, when I see something sell for $480, like my head will automatically go, I put so many people in this stuff for $110.
Yeah.
$130, whatever it is. I can go to South Windsor, South Walkerville, Riverside, 50, first-time home buyers. All day long, like with choice. So it comes down to supply and demand, right? Why is there no supply right now? That's the question. You can't tell me people aren't moving here because we see a market every single day.
Subjectively, like I don't know if there's a statistic to back this up. I can't find a stat. But subjectively, Paul and I are in the market every day. We're getting calls on our listings every day from Toronto agents, from people moving to Windsor, from first-time home buyers that are letters. I want to get out of my parents' house. I want to get into the market. It's happening. The demand is there. Interest rates are 1.5%. People you got to own real estate, right? People know that, right? They're tired of renting. They want to own something. They're getting priced out. Yeah. It's driving people to get into the market. So, there's no supply. So for that decade, right, and from 2007 to now, I don't know of any development really in Windsor. Maybe some small subdivisions once in a while, but like there was no massive development. So nobody was building.
There was no condo market.
No.
Yeah, no condos.
Going back, like condo, like somebody like, look, why would you buy a condo?
Buy a house.
Again, I can get you into all these areas with yards and fences and basements and all this stuff. Whatever you want, I'll get it for you, right?
So there was no development because it didn't make sense.
Seeing the condo market right now is what really interests me because literally there was no condo market. Like, nothing.
And when we say that means nobody was here developing condos. Right. There were some from the 60s, 70s, 80s that were already built, but nobody was coming here and building condos because the houses were so cheap. They were cheap for a fundamental reason because nobody was here, right? People were leaving. There was no demand and a lot of supply. So number one, there's not a lot of supply because nobody built for 10 or 15 years. Because why would you, right? Now all of a sudden you have the fundamentals changing. People are moving here. We're the cheapest city in Ontario. People are
still one of the cheapest. That's what people.
No, we're still the cheapest in Ontario. Okay. Sorry, let's say most affordable, not cheapest, because who cares if it's cheap? Affordability, which is based on your average income as well. Most affordable city in Ontario, most affordable city in the country. That's insane. Still after this big run up,
which won't make sense to people. Right?
Like so we have. we have to hammer home, especially to
I'm assuming that has to do with also population, like size of city. Like when you say cheapest and most affordable,
well, you have to think
with regards to, or what's considered a city, right? Because towns and
probably, but a town's going to have a lower average income as well.
I agree, but I think that you gotta understand, people are going to be like, well, what the fuck are you talking about? You know,
you're probably right.
Probably cheaper.
You're probably
what
right.
we're trying to say is like, you know, if you base it off of X population,
like we're talking
what
a city
is considered, right? We're a
good
city,
point.
we're not a township, or we're not whatever.
Good point. Windsor has the ingredients to be like a big time city. We border the most powerful economy in the U.S. We haven't put it together yet, but we are a city, and we're a small city, but we're a city, not a small town. And that's the difference. I think most small towns will never be big. So we have no supply. Now, all of a sudden, what's happening is we're trying to catch up with supply in Windsor, right? Because of the demand has increased. 1.6% interest rates has people pouring into the market. Investors left, right, and center. You see how many investors that I'm dealing with right now all over the country. It's insane because the fundamentals here are so strong and Windsor's growing. People want to be here. Investors as well. So supply's getting snapped up. Now builders are coming here. They're building condos. They're building townhouses. But the problem with that is you're trying to catch up to the demand. But when you're building new supply, because prices have increased so much to build and buy land or whatever, you can't.
No.
And because of red tape and government bureaucracy and taxation and lack of land and all the environmental studies you got to do development, it takes 3 years to get anything off the ground. You can't even do a basement version without hitting major headaches. Like we can't catch up the supply to meet the demand. And all the new supply is now 500K plus. Yeah. So you almost can't fix the supply demand imbalance. Like
it's impossible to catch up right now. Even like, and talk about sitting on the sidelines, right? If you sat on the sidelines in December and now you're ready in January, you're done. Like it's
1 month.
450 is the average sale price. I bet you by the end of February it's going to be closer to 5.
So what's crazy is I remember I can't remember who I told, even you or John or something like that, and I was like, there's no way. This was like maybe a year or two ago, maybe not a year. I was like, there's no way that we'll see like, you know, $4,500 for average price buy, and like we're here.
Yeah.
Like
you might have said in a decade, you might have thought that, and here we are in a year.
Yeah, it's crazy. And again, I fall guilty to that because when I first started, like shit didn't move for like 7 years.
Yeah.
So,
and I understand why people have a hard time. Like we've been here our whole lives. We're all born and raised in Windsor. We've seen the city die, or be dead for basically our whole lives. I understand why you're stuck in that mindset. I learned this in the stock market. Like this is how I've adapted it to real estate. I used to like come into like with a stock like and I have a preconceived notion of like, oh, it can't go any higher. And then you just watch it keep going higher because that company keeps growing and it keeps getting bigger, like Amazon and Facebook and Google. They just keep going up because they're making more money. It just makes sense, right? So I had to learn like, okay, the fundamentals of those companies are driving the stock price. The fundamentals of a real estate market are going to do the same. The fundamentals of Windsor's real estate, I've been saying this for 3 or 4 years now, in the face of everybody against me, or not everybody, but most people are like, Windsor's real estate can't keep going up. I've heard this for 3 years now. My friends, my family, people that are really smart have told me, well, Chrysler just laid off 1,500 people. The market's going to get hammered. And I'm sitting there like, no, we're not, because we're still the cheapest city in Ontario. We got people from the GTA. We got investors left, right, and center that are snapping up supply. We got interest rates at 2%. Like, I don't care. Chrysler's not big enough. We're going to need a lot more than that to crash this market. Yeah. Prices are going to keep going up. And I feel like I've been, one of the kind of saying this for the last little bit. But again, the point is fundamental reasons. I don't like saying this to people. I sound like salesy. I feel like I sound salesy, right? Oh, prices are going to keep going up. Like you just said, right? From December to January, like, do you feel comfortable telling your client, like, you got to get something now because prices are like, I don't like saying that.
I didn't used to, but it's my job to make sure that they understand that, right? They have to understand that, that it's
fundamentally driven.
You have to show them what's actually going on. And then even then, when we write offers based on what's going on in the numbers that we don't have the numbers that are happening literally today. Like, I mean, I bet you when I'm done this, I grab my phone, watch how many messages I have from a house I listed yesterday. I got people, I think they're going to come to my own house, like to try and bully an offer in, right?
That's crazy.
It's insane. And I listed it already in the summer, right? And it just didn't work out the way we didn't sell it. But now I've listed it for more. I'm going to get a hell of a lot more. And probably with a hell of a lot more offers too, right?
Really, eh?
It's insane.
So we're getting listings with 100 showings, 100 plus showings. You had one with what, 140 something?
Liberty, 155 showings
In a week.
1 week, 150.
That means
the
there's
most
100
I've ever had in my whole career.
So when people think like, oh, the market can't keep going up, well, until that gets cleared up, until those 154 other people find a property, which is super hard right now, well, I don't know how we're going to slow down, right? And those 154 people are all probably pre-qualified by the bank, right? Like I don't buy clients' properties unless they're pre-qualified. So they're qualified to buy. They have the bank willing to lend them 80% loan to value. So they're probably qualified buyers that still need to buy. So that tells me that, hey, we got a long ways to go in this market.
Yeah.
I hope it slows down. I really do, but I just, unfortunately, I don't see it. Yeah. So, okay, we got a bunch of factors there, right? Lack of supply, increased demand. Investors are here left, right, and center because
it's the investor factor too, right?
Huge.
Like we're seeing a lot of deals come from non-members of the board, like where like an agent from Toronto will literally drive down here and show house. I'm like, what are you doing? First of all, it's not your market.
Yeah.
You're doing a disservice to your client. That's how I feel.
Agreed.
And like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You have that much time. Like it's and then they'll call me on Saturday. Want me? Hey, can you open up the door for me Saturday at 2:00? No. I can't do. You gotta go to our board, get a day pass.
Is that right? Is that what you have to do? Interesting. That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm not going to go show your client my list. Like, if you want to refer your client to me, I'll take care of your client. But if you're trying to be the agent down here, then you have to do the agent's job and go show the house.
I gotcha.
Yeah, so it's just a little thing that we deal
with.
I
see what you're saying.
So we have all these GTA people that are used to not buying anything that cash flows. They can't make any money anywhere, and everything in Windsor looks like a deal.
Yeah.
Right. So they're snapping up supply left, right, and center. And a lot of people have to understand this as well. There's a lot of people with a lot of money in the world right now. A lot of investors. If you own any real estate over the decade, you've got probably a couple $1 million in equity that's just ready, dry powder, ready to buy at 1.7% interest rates. What do you think you're going to do with that money? You're going to go buy real estate. And if I can't buy in Toronto or Ottawa or Kitchener or Waterloo because it's too expensive, I'm going to find my way to the next market, and that's Windsor.
And now London at what, 555 now. So now there's just come down here, and then they will exhaust this market out
eventually
until it doesn't make sense. And that's where we're at right now.
That's what's happening.
The unfortunate part of a big investor pool and that's a new buyer for us, right? In the past 5 to 7 years. Is that it eliminates the bottom feeder buyer, which is the single income first time home buyer, which as a realtor, this is an investment podcast. I am a realtor. I by no means do I consider myself an investor. Do I invest? Yes, I am a realtor first though. That's a buyer that we love working for, right? The first time home buyer, whether single income or doubling. They're
getting squeezed.
They're in a tough boat, and we don't like it, right? Like I feel bad for everybody that's struggling to buy a house right now. I'm working with a few people right now. We're struggling. I feel bad, but I'm just reporting what's happening.
Real conversation you have to have with them. If you come to me like, $200,000, like it's not happening.
It's
so
borderline.
Crazy,
impossible.
It's just like I literally will have to decline the business because I'm not going to bullshit you and be like, no problem, we'll get you in sell. No, $200,000.
I don't know anything unless it's a complete gut job. Even then, it's tough. So that's tough. So let's talk about another factor. How about COVID? People like COVID changed the world, and it changed real estate, and it changed Windsor's market specifically. Okay, I don't know how many calls I've gotten from people, probably at least 20, that are they're living in the GTA or out west or wherever. They're working for some tech company. They're now working from home. They rent a 2-bedroom condo for $2,500 a month. They make $150,000 a year. They can't afford anything where they live. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to look somewhere else. They're going to go to somewhere else. There's a lot of hype with Windsor right now because Windsor has a lot of great things. I get big city amenities, a 5-minute drive across the border. I can go to Detroit party. I can go to Tigers Lions games right downtown.
I miss that stuff.
Yeah, you've got the cross-border. We miss it. They got amazing restaurants. They got international flights right there. Detroit's a great city. That's a huge draw for people. We have the best weather in Ontario. Like we're the most southern city in the country. There's a lot of draws here.
Even speaking of Detroit, like that's so they left because they couldn't get any jobs. They're coming back because now they have kids. It takes a village to raise a family. They want the parents' help. And
good point.
If they're specific in their industry, they can get a job in Detroit now.
That's a good point.
It's huge tech down there,
Huge,
right?
huge. Yeah, that's a good point too. I wasn't even thinking that. I was just thinking about Toronto people and other major expensive cities that are just like, oh, they grew up in Toronto, but they're like, oh, we got to set up our lives somewhere else. But you're also right. There's a lot of people that left that are coming back. We see it all the time.
And I'm telling you, they left. They started a life out there. They had kids, and now they're coming back, getting jobs here or in Detroit, and they have mom and dad's help with the kids.
Yeah.
It takes a village, man. And they want family around, right? When you have kids, changes you, man.
Yeah. And you want a house,
and
a yard,
yes,
and a basement, not a box in the sky in the GTA, right? Like that's all you can afford, like in the GTA,
if that,
if that. So it's crazy. So
but keep your box in the sky in Detroit.
As a rental.
Or in Toronto, leverage it, pull the money out,
and
let's get your down payment. So I'm going to flip the script here for a minute. So doing this since 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, the conversation that I have with my clients that I've dealt with from 2007 to 14, 15, 16, even probably as recent as 17 is I get the call to go in on the listing appointment to set up the strategy to buy their new place because they grew out of it, they have kids, whatever, and sell their place. The first conversation that I is, how can we keep your place? How can we keep your place? This is your realtor. This is your consultant coming in now, right? Because you're getting the best realtor now, 14 years experience and knowing about the investment market and stuff right now. Again, I'm a realtor, not an investor, but do I invest? Absolutely. I love it. I think it's the best vehicle in the world, especially when you have equity and you can leverage it. So you got this guy coming in. First conversation we're having is, okay, great. We're going to keep this house and leverage money out of it to get your new house. And now I got 2 houses, and we're going to rent this with.
And this is on a listing appointment where you get paid to sell the house.
3 kids, man. They may be vegan, but they a ton, man. They eat a ton. I got a few, but at the end of the day, the consultant's approach to real estate
advising them
is how we operate.
Yeah, and with these market fundamentals, you probably want to own your real estate. You want to rent that out. You want to leverage it, right? You can pull your money out 80% of the new value, right? You probably bought it for 150 grand. It's worth 450 now. You got 300K in equity. Why sell it? Pull out that 300K.
I just did it for
tax-free.
For my little brother who knows nothing about real estate. Nothing.
Yeah.
He says, Paul, whatever you think, we'll do it. Like, so now he's like, he bought a house on Casgrain in South Windsor, had a house on Bernard. Now he's responsible for the taxes on Casgrain, and that's it.
Yeah.
Because Bernard's paying for everything. And you have 2 houses.
Yeah.
Creating wealth.
Like creating wealth.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
and
real wealth. Yeah.
Like, and when you break it down, people, they think it's really hard, right?
Yeah.
But when you tell them how easy it is to pull the trigger, like that's
and that's what it's all about. So
pull the trigger.
Nice plug.
.ca.
And that's the point, right? When you understand the fundamentals of Windsor's market, first of all, it makes me want to buy, right? A lot of people are like, oh, the market's too hot, I don't want to buy. And I'm like, I love that there's 150 people going to every, because it makes me want to own more real estate in Windsor's market, because that tells me we have a long ways to go, and it tells me there's a lot of demand. I don't want to own something in some small farm where nobody's moving to. There's no catalyst. There's no development. There's no new major bridge project. There's no border city. There's no best weather in Ontario. There's no cheap. Like, I want to own something like Amazon that's like about to blow up. I want to own that 10 years ago, that when they're in the middle of the blow up. I think Windsor's in the middle of the blow up. I don't look at the competitiveness as a negative thing. It makes it a bit harder, but I look at it as a positive. I want to own real estate because like Dan and I were talking recently, you're looking at something in Dallas. Like, what's going on in Dallas, Texas, right? It's not some small town. Like, that's an epicenter. Like, that's a global, powerful city.
Yeah.
But that's attractive to me, right? Like, I don't want to go buy something in, I don't know, Idaho, like some small farm town or something. Like,
So it's boring.
Well, that explains it.
I like it because in an industry can get hit and Dallas would still be around.
Dallas ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, it's not going around anywhere. It's very well diversified. That's the one thing that if I wish Windsor would do, I wish it would become more diversified.
Yeah, which I think we're working on.
I think it is.
Trying,
I think we're working on it.
I think it
Finally.
is.
Yeah.
For the past 100 years, we've only relied on automotive, and
Yeah.
that's the government, our municipal government's
And
mistake.
the government, played its part in crushing it.
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, they're their own worst enemy as usual.
Yeah.
And then just market fundamentals will cause the shift as well. Like, businesses are going to go where it's cheap, going to find office space. They're going to eventually adapt, right?
We're in the office. This is probably a month or 6 weeks ago, whatever it was. And look at him, I go, I want to fuck with downtown. Like, I'm downtown right now. Like, why? I think I think this is the bottom of it. So we hop online and we actually called you, right? Like, what do you think of this, that, the other? And so I'm messing around. What outhouse is for sale, right? I'm like, this would be nostalgic for me, right? So it's all I'd have to do is carry the taxes, right? So I'm looking into that building, then messaged a couple agents about the other buildings, all gone. I'm like, you can feel it when things change.
Interesting.
Downtown's changing. Right
it
now.
is. Yeah.
These buildings were listed for sale.
It's
online.
bottomed out.
Yeah,
It's if anybody listening to this is thinking about downtown, you better get in on it now because the bottom's done. I think.
Yep. Yeah. That's why I bought that fucking building.
Absolutely.
That's why I bought it.
I think you're gonna.
I'm
do
actually
well
running the numbers on it. Like I'm gonna do all right.
The bottom's done. I mean, it's not gonna like jump like it, but it's gonna steadily.
No.
Rise.
Yeah. Like I'm pretty excited.
Yeah.
Actually,
There's a post.
I always wanted to take my chances on downtown.
Yeah.
I like
and I've never in the history of me being involved in downtown, and I worked down there for 6 years, all that shit. I've never seen anything go on there. Only bars.
If downtown had a vibe, I would buy something down there and I'd move my office down there. For me, downtown's nostalgic. My father worked downtown at the Bank of Montreal. We used to go to United Grill for breakfast, or it's nostalgic to me, and I like it downtown.
Yeah, it's cool, man.
I like if I could walk out by the front of my building and like see people that are crackheads.
Yeah,
that'd be nice.
Yeah, for sure.
It has the potential.
Yeah.
Like the potential's there.
It's happening.
This is happening.
This is the first time people will tell me, I think you're taking a chance on that. I don't think so. There's enough residential going on down there.
I think when you're in real estate and you're like really pay attention, you're hyper focused and you're like entrenched in it, you can feel the changes.
Oh yeah.
You can feel the changes.
It's
I
happening.
can feel a market shift.
Yep.
Because I'm a listing agent.
Yeah.
I control the showings. I get offers. I control the calls that come in. I can feel when something changes. If I'm listing 2, 3 properties a week. If my calls go stale, I'm like, we're in a little dip here.
Yeah.
Right. So now I can't bury my list price at like a 9 expecting to get, 500.
Yeah.
I got to price it more correctly because I'm going to find that 1, 2 buyers as opposed to 6, 8 buyers.
I gotcha.
So,
interesting.
Yeah, you're tuned in to what's happening. We're tuned in. We're out there every day. This is what we're doing every day. We're getting
my wife
calls.
thinks I'm a loser. I'm like, the Matrix, and looking at listings, like, oh my god, they got this for this. She's like, you're a loser. Fighting over washer and dryers at 10 o'clock at night. Like, I love it though. Like, I'm like
the art of the
it's
deal.
not work. It's not me. I just love it. But
it's cool, man. I like it too.
Oh my god, I'm obsessed with it. Like I am like a realtor's realtor, man. I love it. I'm a fan of like awesome real estate. And, you know what? I'm a fan of awesome realtors too. It's I love it, man.
It's fun. It's fun.
For sure.
So like we're seeing the shift, we're feeling the shift. We're out there every day. You're seeing it as an investor. Like you were buying stuff for 50 grand 7 years ago, 8 years ago, and now all of a sudden it's this.
Man, I wish.
Where do we see the market going? Like, I don't like to predict too long of a time out, but like the foreseeable future, like what do we see happening here? I have a couple thoughts like that I've already discussed, but like what do you see for the next year, 2 years? Like what are your guys' thoughts here?
I don't think it's going to slow down. I don't think it's going to slow down at all. I think it'll keep going. I think COVID really fucked things up for that.
Big time.
Number one, the
Big
price of construction materials, all that stuff.
Delays.
Right now we're in lockdown. You can't.
With no end in sight, by the way.
You can't start new construction because you can't go below grade. Right, you can't start digging. Right, that's that they stopped that, so you can't start. So what's that going to do for existing? Yes, for supply. It's going to ramp it up hard. Like the value's up hard.
Yeah. Another thing I just thought of: everybody's sitting at home right now with nothing to do. They're just banking money. Right? What do people do with banked money? They either go invest it, they trade up their home, or they buy like an investment.
People are super scared right now. People are afraid. Yeah, a lot of people are just kind of sitting tight. They're not selling. Right now, I feel like I'm more hungrier than normal because I know people are scared. I know they're sitting on their hands and they don't want to do anything yet. They don't want to pull the trigger.
Yeah, right? For sure. A lot of people.
.ca.
So they don't want to do that. You know what I mean? And it opens up opportunity for other people. Like I don't even care. Like I'm at the point now where I just want to get good real estate and hold it long term. I don't even care if I overpay right now. Like, I don't even care. Like, on that property in Dallas you're talking about, like, I very, very well may be overpaying, like, maybe like $1 million. Like, I don't care.
And like, overpaying, I don't...
It's all relative, right? Because I know in 1 year, I'm going to make more money holding 1 year than I'm overpaying for now. So I don't care. Like, historically, the area that I'm buying in or trying to buy in down there has appreciated over and above that, what I would be essentially overpaying. That's also objective.
it's subjective.
For your subjective.
Yeah.
For me, I'm like getting an awesome deal
relative to what's available
here.
In
Yeah,
Canada.
relative to what's available here. I'm like, it's a fucking steal.
Knockout. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like an A property in the heart of Dallas, Texas. Like it looks like an amazing deal relative to what we see.
Exactly.
And I like the term overpaying because we've been overpaying for stuff as agents. Like we have to guide our clients like, hey, we have to go over the comps here because there's 30 offers. And we've been overpaying for 2 years. And we look back 2 years from now and now we look like we didn't overpay them. We got a great deal.
Yeah.
So overpaying it's a bit of a dangerous term. It's a bit of a dangerous term because the market dictates the price, not me in my mind. If somebody's willing to pay more 3 days from now than I paid a couple of days ago, then I didn't overpay, right?
So,
like
the market conditions there are different from here, though.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think I can say if I am overpaying down there or not, right? Because I would be willing to overpay down there because the subjective market here, I'm getting a deal.
Yeah, sometimes you have to overpay, right? Like for
I don't care. Like Marco, he bought like the corner of Cabana and Dougal there.
Yep.
Right? That, Tim Hortons and all that shit.
They must be struggling.
He overpaid like $1 million.
That Tim Hortons must just be
yes, but he doesn't. Yeah, but he doesn't care, right? Like his perspective is like,
20 years.
Yeah, he's holding it. It's if you're gonna own like retail, commercial, service, real estate, you're literally not buying anything better than that corner.
No.
So you're going to be fine. It's impossible. So long term, he doesn't give a shit, right? So that's also my perspective coming in now too. Is that I don't.
That's maturity.
I don't care.
Like long term thinking. I don't own a shitload of real estate right now because I didn't have a term outlook.
Yeah.
Right. Only reason I own real estate now is because I have a long term outlook.
Yeah.
I was just like, I should be a drug addict because I wanted instant gratification.
Yeah.
Flip it, boom, let's flip it. Like I've flipped a few houses here and there and sold houses that I should have kept but I wanted it right away. Right?
Yeah.
Instead now, like I bought a raised ranch, it's closed in June. I haven't even seen it yet. There was a tenant in there. Like there's nothing in there at that price and that location that will deter me.
Yeah.
Right. I still haven't seen it and I have no desire to see it. Mm-hmm. I peeked through the windows. Didn't look very good in there. Didn't look very, they may be hoarders. That's okay though.
Yeah. It's not, you just bought it. You didn't even go see it. You don't care if there's a little bit of, you don't care if like the roof needs to be replaced. Over 25 years, you're going to be fine. Good. Like you're going to make $1 million. It doesn't matter. Like,
and that's a mindset, man. Yeah. It's
maturity. I like
maturity.
that. I like that mindset.
Again, like, I've changed, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I've seen what like a real estate market can do.
So I do truly feel one of the advantages that I've had in like my real estate game is the fact that I started when I did.
Yeah. Same.
And I know what that's like.
Yeah.
And I buy real estate as if it's kind of the same type of market because I don't buy real estate that doesn't make money. Right. Like I've never bought. Well, I shouldn't say that. I have bought, but for other reasons, like on the water. Like I own some property on the water. Yeah. I know, I've literally a month later after buying that property, I was offered like $100,000 more than I bought it for. There's only a certain amount of waterfront stuff.
Did you sell it?
I didn't. No. So I just got offered again. So I've owned the property probably maybe a year now. I just got offered again for $250,000 more than I paid. Jeez. Yeah, and I didn't sell it either. So I held it still.
What's your mentality?
I don't know.
What's the frontage on it?
78 feet.
Okay.
On Riverside Drive.
You probably want to put a little ranch on there, eh?
There is one.
Yeah.
I know which one it is. Yeah, there's currently a house on there too. Yeah. And I don't know. I don't think I would. I don't know. I don't know what my number would be. To be honest with you, if I need money to do a bigger deal.
You lease it right now?
I do, yeah. So if I needed money to do a bigger deal, then maybe I'll pull it out. But I don't know. Like for me, I rarely buy like literally investment real estate that does not make money. I rarely do. And if I do, it's because I know that there's going to be some sort of intrinsic value, like the water or a development going on across the street, like those duplexes, right? You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like those duplexes or whatever, right? Like
great purchase.
I literally bought those not because of the duplexes. Yeah. I bought those because I knew someone's developing that land there, and that's going to be a big demand. It's going to raise the value in the area. Yeah.
And you know what? I sent that to like a few different investors. And what's funny is like how many people said no. Like it was such a good deal.
Yeah.
And you're just like, because you're a pull the trigger kind of guy. You're like, even if it's not the best deal in the world, it's still like Dacia, yeah. It's still like it still works. It still makes money. And then, you know, and that area of the city's bottomed out. And there's that vacant piece of land next door that will one day be developed. It just so happens it was like 6 months later that they announced the development.
Yeah.
It could have been 5 years. You don't care, right? You got a 20-year mentality.
But like at the end of the day, like I could see where the trajectory of the real estate market locally was headed. Like that land's not sitting there any longer than a year. I fucking knew that.
It's only a matter of time.
Yeah, like someone's buying that shit. Like there's no chance.
Sometimes stuff just doesn't add up, right?
Yeah.
Where you're like, okay, well, this like the townhomes that I can spot it maybe once or twice a year, right? Where last year was these townhomes that, man, I can see the market shifting. You can feel it because you're in it. Look at the prices here. This is what this stuff is sold for this week. We should pop on these.
Yeah.
And we send
that was fantastic. So
11, 12, 13 of them. A condo that came up. You know what? I believe in this pricing. This is where the market's going. This is where phase 1 went. This is what phase 2 is.
It's a great location.
Boom, done. We sold 30 something of them, right?
Yeah.
And we bought them ourselves as well.
Of course.
And this is a good thing too, because a lot of people come into a market with a preconceived notion. I had it myself. And if it wasn't for Paul pointing out that townhouse to me, I would have never bought a new construction townhouse, because this is what I would have said. Well, the return, I can get a higher return in this or that. Like, why would I buy a new construction townhouse? Like it's premium price, whatever. I could buy this for cheaper. But because I'm in the game now, and because Paul like opened my eyes a little bit, I'm like, oh shoot, that actually is a really good deal, because these 20-year-old townhouses in the area are selling for $350. I can get this for $385. Like that's an arbitrage. Like a brand new townhouse for $25, or like that doesn't make sense. That's a deal. So the ability,
it's an equity play too.
And
by
huge.
the time these are built, like there's so much built in equity.
Yeah,
it's 8 months. It's been 8 months. That thing is worth $450.
That screws with a hammer. That's me, right? So anything that investments that I have, like you're not calling me. It's just not me, right?
Yeah,
like it's just I know what I am. I know what my skill set is, and it's not that. Like it's just that may be good or bad.
Well,
I also
it's not necessary.
You don't want to either. I don't want to pick up a hammer
and see. I didn't. So this is something else a lot of people need to understand too. So when I started, I fucking hated it, but I did it anyways.
But you did it.
Yeah, but I did it because I had to, because I didn't have the money to pay anybody. So a lot of people don't really understand that.
If you have to do
like
it,
those,
you have to.
Like those people that kind of want to get in. I want to get like a 20-unit apartment building, and I got really no money here, and I don't really want to do any maintenance. I'm going to hire a maintenance guy, and like what the fuck?
Or a proper.
If that's going to be your job and everything, yes, absolutely. Like again, when we toured this building, and I see 100 garbage cans that are all shrink wrapped, I'm like, I don't even want the task of like finding somebody to fucking buy those, get them shipped here, and to be like, then forget it. And yes, I have to pay extra for that. Yes, I do. But my mentality and not having anything extra on my mind is valuable to me at this point. Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. The problem that I have is when people don't have the wherewithal to be able to do that, and they still want to. Yeah, that's the problem.
Or if you're some 20-year-old kid and you want to hire everything out, but you don't have the money. You don't want to take on anything yourself. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
And I do agree with, like I told Deshaun, right? I think it's important for people to getting into the game. I think it's important to understand it and actually manage it and do all the little shit yourself.
Agreed.
You'll have a less of a chance of getting taken advantage of.
Absolutely.
You might be in a position though where financially you don't have to, but most people aren't, right? Like Paul, you might be in a position where you're so busy and whatever, you're just like, screw it. I don't need to see that place. Property manager, don't care. I do well enough in my business.
That's totally different.
Yeah.
That's not what we're talking about.
Exactly. If you're the new beginner investor, you're just starting out, you got one property, you got to build from the ground up. Like, want to go do that stuff yourself.
Yeah. You should do it yourself.
You should.
To be honest with you.
You got to learn the game.
You should. You know how much shit I learned managing those 15 condos
You learn
myself?
everything. You learn everything.
Like, I learned a lot of shit, man. And it allowed me to also be competitive.
You meet the tenant.
Competitive. I understood like tenant, landlord relationships a little bit better. I understood how much it took to change a toilet or, cabinets or whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, so it helps you to not get taken advantage of. Like, what happens if you call somebody up and he's like, oh, okay, I'm going to charge you $500 to, do this and do that. And you're like, wait a minute. Yeah. But like somebody that's never done it, it's not going to.
Yeah. And then you get taken advantage of.
Yeah. And then the next thing you know, now your property's not making any money because you're fucking.
Because you didn't go through the hard times.
Do your shit. You don't want to put your dues in, right? So I do believe in doing it, even
if you can, absolutely.
Yeah, no. If you don't have to,
everything that I have to budget for, right? Yeah. Because again, I can't take that phone call at night. You know, I got 3 kids. Everybody's going nuts. Like,
For sure.
you know, it's just not worth it. I just wouldn't do it.
Yeah, and there's
like,
nothing wrong.
Fuck it, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that.
But no, I know myself, and I know what the type of investor. That's why I like
for sure
pre-construction, right?
Yeah.
Because
I love that. I know myself.
I know who I am.
Dan and I talked about this last week. Investors are watching guys on YouTube and they want to be the guy on YouTube, but it doesn't really match their personality.
Yeah.
So what they end up doing, because they can't do what Mr. YouTube does, they do nothing.
Yeah.
When in reality, it's like, okay, if you're massive, then buy the new construction. You're going to make a little bit of money and you got some mad appreciation. That's a great investment for you. Mm-hmm. Well, the guy on YouTube doesn't do that. He does burrs. Yeah, but like he drives to Windsor 4 times a month from Toronto and manages the project. And he's been doing it for 2 years. He knows the game. Are you going to do what he's doing? Probably not.
And keep in mind,
know yourself.
I'm been dealing with real estate for years and investing. I met Scott. He was a client of mine. I met Scott.
Okay.
Right. So I see what they have to put into these properties and what they do. And that's probably why maybe I never owned one until I had enough money to buy good shit, because that's not me.
Yeah.
It's not
Don't want to deal with it. Yeah.
I know what I am. I know what my skill set is. It's not fixing stuff. You know?
And there's nothing wrong with that either.
Hey, man, I
like you can't get me in a place anymore like that. Like, I am not interested. I don't want to fucking deal with it. I'll do it if I have to, but fuck, do I not want to do it anymore? Like, I hated it. I never did like it. You know,
you have higher value things that you can do now, but at the time it made sense. At the time it made sense.
At the time, yeah,
for sure.
You gotta dig deep. You gotta know who you are.
It was a grind.
Gotta know what you want to do. Gotta know what you don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I like finding properties and stuff like that, but.
And you got to know your market. Like, knowing the market allowed you to see those townhouses and that condo development in LaSalle and look at those and say, those are a deal. Like, yeah, they're not like making $600 a month cash flow, but like they're a couple $100 cash flow positive. And by the time these are built and on the trajectory that we're on, those things are going to be worth 50 to 100 grand more within a year, because of the trajectory. Now, we don't know that for sure, but that's a bet that we're willing to make. And I put my money where my mouth is.
Pretty educated.
It's a pretty educated bet, right? And that's all you can do in life and in a game of poker, right? You play the odds. You just can play the odds and you're going to win long term, right? Mm-hmm. That's why the best poker players, they don't win every time, but they consistently win and make a lot of money because they always play the odds.
Yeah.
They don't violate those. And right now in Windsor, like, I'm playing the odds based on the fundamentals that we're seeing because we're out there every day. And we see the sales, we see the offers, we see the competitiveness, we see the lack of supply. So we're like, I guess my business, get out of the tunnel vision of like, no, you can only invest one way. You can only invest, like, I can only buy something at a 50K discount. I'm only going to wait for the slowdown and crash. Like, I'm not buying something because it's 400K, a new construction condo. Like, no, like, you got to be able to play all the different games. Like, there's so many ways to do real estate.
And the one thing that I was a 60 or 70 year Windsor, Essex County real estate average sale price trajectory. And it was just like, yes, it's going to go like this, but it starts here and it ends up here. And if you started at 2021, it's going to start here. And I guarantee you in 15, 20 years, it's going to end up here. It may go like this, but it fucking will. That guaranteed.
Yeah, of course.
Based on history, history can always tell us our future. Like,
and I hate cliche sayings, but don't wait to buy real estate. Buy real estate. Wait, just freaking buy it. And wait. As long as it makes money, like Dan says, right? Don't be stupid. Don't buy something just on appreciation. Those weren't just on appreciation. Those properties we bought make money. They're going to cash flow positive, and they're going to get some nice appreciation. But the earlier you start, and like, you're like, how far ahead of you are in the game now? Because you started freaking 15 years ago buying real estate.
I saw all those prices, and I was terrified. It's like, what if, and I didn't have any money. Yeah. So that, you need money, man. And I listen, I'm a fan of
But here's the thing, even if you had the money, because you're like me, I used to be the same way. I still wouldn't have done it because of the what if. Like, I was the same way. It takes a mindset shift because there's always a what if. What if? When 2008-9 comes again, which it will, at some point, the markets are going to crash, whatever. Who knows when it is? I don't play that game like I always talk about.
Yeah.
That moment will come and people then will go into what if mode and they won't pull the trigger. Like, they're talking right now, like, oh, if it crashes, I would buy some. When that crash comes, you watch.
They're going to be they're going to be more scared.
They're going to be even more scared. They have no experience. They have skill. They have no confidence. They didn't buy when the market was up. They didn't buy when it was down last time. They didn't buy when it was sideways. They're never going to buy. They've always got the what if, right?
This is why I find when I bought Start or whatever, it's such an advantage because I couldn't have started in the worst scenario.
Yeah.
So
You weren't
whatever's coming doesn't scare me.
you can handle
what
it,
the fuck?
man. You've already proved it.
If you're 20 to 27 years old and you're thinking about investing in real estate right now, you got to do everything in your power to fucking get in.
Yeah.
Just get
Straight
in.
up.
Yeah.
Get in. Do whatever you got to do. Figure it out. Start with one and get in.
Intelligently.
Of course. But
make a smart buy. But
if you're going to get any nuggets from this podcast, pullthetrigger.ca. Grab these ones. Start young, man. It's going to start here. It will end up there.
Yeah.
99% guaranteed.
Of course. Yeah.
Inflation alone will take it.
Yeah.
If I would have started when I started in real estate, I'd be Dan Crosby.
Seriously,
that'd be phenomenal. And he's like all these problems, and then leverage, and this it just opens up so much more opportunity throughout 10, 15 years of having these properties. And like Scott says, just start with one. You're not going to get the 40 unit apartment building right away, but everybody can achieve that. They can if they
over time.
Absolutely.
But you start with one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Go to fucking work and save your money and buy real estate.
Well,
that's it. You don't have, exactly. Just do it.
Yeah. People need to stop kind of looking at their job in the wrong way. They should look at their job bank.
Yeah. And you guys have said it time and time again. This will not fund your life right away. It won't. But if you do it right.
One in real estate. Yeah. No, it won't.
Yeah.
No.
It'll take
a bit. It'll take a long time.
Yeah, we talk about hard work a lot, right? You started a brand, hustle harder. Your brand always working for you. AW4U always working. You two are the hardest working guys that I know. Legit. You're a very successful agent.
That's a compliment. I love it.
Yeah, you're a very successful agent. I remember talking to Paul. I said, Paul, what's your secret? When you first asked me to join your team or whatever. And because I'm like, man, this guy's a top agent in Canada. He's got to do some market. What's the secret? And he said, Scott, freaking all I do is work hard and give a shit. Work hard. I'm like, no, man, there's something else to it. Work hard and give a shit. I'm like, no, and as I've gotten into it, I see the truth in that more and more. And you, the hustle harder brand, you work your ass off, man. You're very successful. You could probably sell everything right now and go live on an island somewhere. But you work, man. You
under the radar, though, man. Until I was listening to the podcast the other day, and I'm a podcast guy in the closet. I'm out of the shower. Podcast is on. Trisha's like, is that Marlena's husband? I said, yeah.
He doesn't even know your name.
It's wow, he's got a lot of shit, eh? I'm like, yeah, he probably owns, well over 100 doors, probably close to 150, whatever. Yeah. It's wow, fuck. And then now she's listening to it, right?
Yeah,
I'm like,
you're pretty quietly, right? Man. You're a young guy, you got 50 property, 15 different businesses or whatever. I
just toured this whatever the fuck this place is called. And it is
it's next level,
top notch,
I appreciate it.
I just again,
and you don't have to do this.
You,
this is a lot of work. You took on a lot more work. But I think our point is here, man. Hard work. You guys work harder than
working hard is easy for me. Giving a shit for some people is the tough part.
But you want to freaking get in this world. You want to start buying real estate and gaining financial freedom. Freaking go to work, man. Stop looking at your job as a burden, even though that's your end goal to get out of it. Look at it as a freaking tool. Go to work.
It's the bank.
Work overtime for 5 years, if you have to. We all did it. We all grind our ass off. I work super hard now. I work every day, every week, holidays, whatever. But I'm fine. I love it, right? Mm-hmm. And it's helping fund my goals. But that's a huge takeaway from this. And I love those brands, right? And I didn't understand them at first, hustle harder. But everybody wants it quick, and they don't want to work. Yeah. I find it too often.
Well,
they want it without
work ethic is the variable now. When we were growing up, it was education, right? You had to get
that's
your master's or whatever.
You. Yeah.
That's what's kind of separated you and pulled you away
from
from the
reason
pack.
I went to university.
Yeah,
you felt that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. But now everybody's educated, so now the differentiating factor is work ethic.
Yeah, and there's a severe lack of it.
And university, probation, off probation. Back on probation. It was just I'm
academic probation.
Trying to pretend this okay, all right, this is my year. No. Rush on Tuesdays, Peppers on Wednesdays, Dante's on Thursdays, Dante's Thursday night, accounting exam, 8 a.m. Doesn't matter. Still at Dante's. New Megan at the front door. Walk right in. Do the bag. Friday mixed bag. End up at Rush. Saturday 29 Park. Keep it classy. That's school. Oh man, just was. But little did I know that whole time I was socialized. I was networking.
Yeah.
I got into real estate, and when I got into real estate, there was no young. right? I was the young agent in like the fucking city.
Yeah.
I was 25 years old, 26 years old. No one was getting into real estate because there was a massive recession.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll get into real estate.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, I said, if I can make it now, like, then I'll always be okay, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, didn't make it at first, that's for sure. But it stuck with it, worked hard, did it my way, which was the giving a shit part. And, and that was it. Because you're trying to learn real estate from all that you know of it, which is nothing.
Yeah.
Right. I remember working at Spago's, and I used to smoke back at the time, and I'd be in the back having a cigarette, and I'm looking at this dump next door. It's got a Valente sign on it, right? And I'm thinking, I'm like getting licensed. I'm in school, and I'm looking at this house. I'm like, how the fuck do you sell this? Like fucking dump. Like where do you start? And all I know is like there was one show on HGTV called Big City Broker.
Okay.
It was Brad Lamb out of Toronto. Is a condo guy over there.
Okay.
Right? And it just inspired me so much. It was the Toronto market, this, that, the other. And I looked at it, and it kind of turned me off to real estate. I was like, I don't know how I could sell this to somebody. And that's why I struggled the first 2 years, because it's sales. It's like it's taking care of people and giving a shit. And once I figured that out, it was here we are, right?
Yeah. Interesting.
That was kind of a tangent. I'm not sure.
No, but no, a lot of people are like, you're trying to do some technique, but like and this is my point for real estate too. As an investor, when you start buying real estate, you got to find out who you are as an investor. That's why I always say, start with one. I started out, I was looking at everything, right? Like, student rental, this, Burr project, this. And then over time, like as I started buying, I'm like, no, I know who I am. I want nice properties. I want good locations. I'll pay more for them. I'll take a lower return because long-term, I think I'm going to do just fine. And I'm passive. I don't want to deal with that shit. And I think you're going to make more money in the better locations and properties long-term. I found out who I was, but I got caught up going down everybody else's path. And as an agent, Paul and I were just talking about this earlier. Like, when I began, I was trying to and we've made this mistake a couple times where we're trying to mold ours off of how other people do them. Oh, you got to do this technique. You got to bring people in the office and get them under buyer rep before you even serve them. And we're like, oh, well, we don't really do that. And we're really good success, right? Like if people want to work with us, we don't need a contract. Like they'll feel like we're going to work harder than anybody. We're going to do a better job. If they don't see that, then, they don't have to work with us. Yeah. But we tried to implement these other things. And it didn't work for us. So we had to
lead generation.
Yeah. Working with
all this stuff. And I'm just like, we're getting away from who we are, right? We don't want to work for these random people. We just don't.
We want to take care of our people.
We want that money and take care of the database and stuff like that.
And then we do our own thing. We have our own team. We have our own brand. We do marketing our own way. We don't follow really anybody else's pattern. And I see that in you, Dan. I don't know, man. It seems like you've developed your own method of madness for business. I don't think you're following any script here. A
little bit of chaos,
I
guess.
But that's you, right? That's how you operate. You just go, you just do things, and then you figure it out along the way. And that's been successful for you. And then other people, I bet you they wouldn't take one step without doing all the research. If that works for you, great. The point is, don't try to fit yourself into Mr. YouTube's role. Find out who you are by doing.
Yeah. Best thing I ever did as a realtor was buy a house. Now I know the process. I sold real estate for years living at my parents'
Good point.
or the apartment building downtown with the Scarface poster. For years. And then once I bought my own house, that's when it was like, oh, I could feel the process. I could feel everything. Then, if as an investor, you're not going to know who you want to listen to or what advice you want to take until you actually do it yourself and see where you fit in there.
Yeah. How do you manage it? Okay, you did this. What did you learn? Is this really the path you want to go down? But you gotta make moves to figure it out. You figure it out along the way. Like that YouTube, you're not going to become a great investor off of YouTube. You gotta you can take some points, but you gotta figure out your own method. Stop following everybody else's. I don't follow anybody's method.
No.
I don't listen to any podcasts anymore. I don't read any books. I don't watch any YouTube video. I'm not looking for anybody else's strategy. No. I'll figure it out along the way. I'll hear things. I'll meet people along the way. People will open my eyes up to things. I met a random builder, and all of a sudden he's like, hey, I'm going to build a duplex. And there's 2 lots. I'm going to buy one. I'm like, oh, I'll buy the one next door. Build me one too. That was a random thing, right? If I would have watched a YouTube video, it would have looked too scary. I would have never done it.
Yeah.
So along the path, right? That was in year 2 or 3. It just came to me, right? Because I'm on the path. You just get on the warpath, start making moves, and it's going to come, and you're going to figure out your own method of madness. And that's what AW4U is. That's who I become as an agent. I don't listen to anybody. I don't go to any training. about how to be an agent. I don't do any sales training. I just work hard, care, do a good job.
Well, the office is Moses, though, right?
True. Oh yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
I become a better investor agent just from listening to Scott on his Zoom calls every fucking day. Like he's on calls like every day, all day long, right? Like if I have an investor client, I don't care if it's my brother, it goes to he's better at that than me.
Yeah,
right?
being around good people.
And that's okay, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Right? Because listening to him and his guidance and what he's done, that's where that goes.
Yeah. Same with as an
Makes
agent, right?
sense.
I picked up so much stuff off him. And when I get, I have dreams of one day starting a business, I'm going to like pick up stuff off of you and like pick your brain a little bit about how to do it. But ultimately it's on me to like start making the moves and take everybody's little bits of advice and then make it my own and my own strategy. Because there is no one way to do anything.
No.
People think you can only do BRRRRs. That's the only way to buy real estate. Well, bullshit. Like you can do a lot of different things. I just bought a pre-construction condo that by the time it's built, I just made $70,000 in 8 months because I saw what was happening in the market. I did a new construction duplex build that just came to me out of nowhere that at the time it was like, well, kind of the same as buying a duplex. It's probably worth about $400,000 when it's built. It's going to cost me $400,000. Is it worth all the effort? Well, the trajectory of the market now it's worth $600 a year later.
At
like,
least.
yeah, $650.
I think it's more.
But like I developed my own strategy, based on my personality, my risk tolerance. I have a high risk tolerance. I don't care because long term, 25 years, I'm going to be fine. It's real estate, right? So I'll overpay for something. I don't care. I don't care if the comps say this. If there's 30 offers, I'm going to come in higher than everybody else because I want it, and it's going to make sense over 25 years. Yeah. And sometimes you have to overpay for premium stuff. You don't get a discount on Amazon stock almost ever. It's always been overpriced since they were like. On the fundamentals, Amazon stock has always been overpriced. They didn't make money for 20 years because they kept reinvesting. So everybody's like, oh, you're overpaying. You could buy Walmart and they're making this much money. It doesn't make sense to buy Amazon. I'm like, bullshit. Amazon's the future. I'm making a bet on this stock. You can do the same thing with real estate, right? I can make a bet on South Walkerville. I know people want to be there. I can make a bet downtown Windsor because this project's going on, that project's going on. I can overpay a little bit now because we're in the middle of this fundamental shift. We got 1.2 million immigrants coming into the country. I can make these bets because I understand the market and I know who I am as an investor. Stop following everybody else. Find your own way. Like I'm talking a lot here, but
no, it's good.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah,
I agree with
You just got to get in, right? You
Yeah.
gotta, especially, oh my God, if you're listening to this, you're between 20 and 25. Do whatever it takes right now to get that portfolio.
Make a
going.
move.
Honestly, it's invaluable by the time you reach my age of I'm 30 now, and no, I'm just I'll be 40 this year. August 12th, baby. I'm a large. So just get in, man. Just pull the fucking trigger. And do whatever it
Figure
takes
it out along the way
to get in and figure out who you are and have. I see a lot of passionless investors too, right? Who think it's just money. There's got to be some passion there too.
Yeah,
with everything you do in life.
It's tough because it is tough. It's not for the.
There's got to be some passion there.
Yeah, yeah.
Love it. Yeah, passion will drive you through anything. Like,
yeah.
I don't know if to wrap up because that's good.